South Park: The Stick of Truth was an amazing game, a really generation-defining masterpiece, right? What could ever top that? Well, a sequel. And not just any sequel, something that's even bigger and better than the first game. And that is South Park: The Fractured Butthole. And butthole are two different words. We have butt and hole. They're separate, guys. Come on, get out of your head. But they took everything that was great from the first game and really just put it on steroids here. That's all they did. It really pushes the game and makes it a beautiful experience. And how does it do this? Well, the first way it does this is we move away from the silly humans and elves of the first game, and we move to the super cool and awesome superheroes of this game, which are people like the Coon, the Mysterion, the Human Kite, and Toolshed. It's a really fun and fresh choice, and actually was kind of up to date to the show when this game was released as well. The story for this game is actually really good, and it's a lot longer than the story for The Stick of Truth. I mean, like, a lot longer. So that means that we get more of what we love in the South Park humor and story, and they also improve upon the gameplay as well, which I think is by far one of my favorite RPG gameplays actually ever. And it's not even me like over exaggerating or like joking. Like, I actually really enjoyed this combat, and it's a lot more in depth and a lot more fun than I think the previous game. To start off, we are playing the same new kid that we were playing in The Stick of Truth, and we obviously get to customize the way the character looks and his appearance. But one thing this game does a little differently than before is it lets you pick the difficulty setting, and it's interesting to say the least. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm just gonna show you. Yeah, I had no comment. I think we should just move on and let's keep it pushing. The story for the game is actually good, like I said, and of course it's a South Park game, so it's obviously funny. And it'll run you about 25 to 30 hours to beat the game story, which, like I said, is a lot longer than The Stick of Truth, and it'll be even more if you want to do all the side quests and all this shit that they want you to do in this game, like all the other shit. So a huge respect to them, because they put so much time into this game, a lot more than what it seems like from The Stick of Truth. And in this game, we don't get any major groundbreaking plot twists like we got in The Stick of Truth, but we don't need them. It's not what makes the game good. What makes this game good is the story, and it leaves breadcrumbs of the true villain throughout the whole game that you might or might not be able to pick up on. So I'm just going to run through the story really quickly so you can really just see how amazing this is. And to start out, the heroes are split between two groups: the Coon and Friends and the Freedom Pals. And we start out on the side of the Coon and Friends, and we're looking for a cat to get a $100 reward that's going to kickstart our Netflix movie and show and just franchise and become like the new fucking Marvel. But as we are searching, we found a bunch of groups like the Italian, the Russian, and the Chinese mob, and then sixth graders and the treacherous Dr. Chaos are all stealing cats for some main villain that they refuse to say. And even the police are in on this, and we must take them all down. And of course, during this time, we have civil wars with the other superhero group, and we kick their ass just because we are that fucking cool. It all leads to both of the teams becoming one big massive group and working together to take down our main villain, which happens to be Mitch Connor, who is, well, if you don't know, how do I put this? It's just Cartman's fucking hand. He's been the one orchestrating this whole thing from the beginning, and like I mentioned, Kenny, or Mysterion, who has been saying this the whole fucking game, he's been saying not to trust fucking Cartman, that he's only doing this for himself, which in the end, he was fucking right. At the end of the game, though, we use our fart powers, which of course make a reappearance in this game, and then we go forward and then back in time to stop Mitch Connor and Cartman and finally put an end to all of this. Now for the combat. Honestly, I really loved it. I saw some people shitting on it, and I don't know why, because I felt it was a lot more engaging and a lot more strategic than in the previous game. So how it goes is we have a grid that's broken up into squares, and we can move around in these squares, and our characters can only move a certain amount of squares per turn, and then within that turn, they can attack, and they can only hit a certain amount of squares depending on the hero and what kind of superpower they have. I'll start off with our character, and then when the game starts, we have three basic superhero classes to pick from, which are the Brutalist, the Speedster, and the Blaster. Then as the game goes on, we get more classes where at the end of the game, we end up having all of the classes, and in total there are 10 different classes. But the thing is, to make us not too broken, there are only 3 regular move spots and an ultimate move spot. So With each class comes 4 different moves, so that's 40 moves in total, and then we have to narrow it down to 4. We can swap them around at will, so we're really not tied down to anything at all. This does a good job of making the game feel very replayable because there are so many different classes that you can use, and you can combine different classes to make so many different builds. It just really makes it feel so much fun and unique because each run can be so different. Like, for example, you could be like a healer and support type in one playthrough, or you could be like the main damaging one in the next playthrough. It really just depends on how you want to play. And with that, there are like little like DNA add-ons that you can add to yourself to make yourself more powerful and boost certain types of moves and superpowers. It's really emphasizing how much this game is focusing on the replayability and how customizable it is. Obviously though, no good superhero is without an origin story, and we are no different. The reason why we are so strong is because of our origin story. It's so brutal and violent that it has rocked us to our core. We woke up in the middle of the night when we were young to hear the cries of our mother. We go out and find bad guys we have to fight off, and when we do, we enter our parents' room to see the most horrific and despicable thing ever. We walked in and saw our dad fucking our mom. I warned you. It stuck with us through the night and drives us to fight crime now. That is the reason why you are powerful, because of that night. We're given 3 companion slots that we can have on our team, and in total we have 12 different companions to pick from. So we have a wide variety that do a ton of different things that can support the team in different ways. They do a really good job of making all of these characters and the way they fight and play feel very different. So you can really have a different build, not only with yourself, but with your team. And you can swap up your team as needed on the fly, so you can really fight any situation that you need to. It just does a good job of making the game feel so unique, and really they just keep driving in that replayability factor for this game. Moving on to our side effects though, we have the normal things like burn, bleeding, and frozen, but then we have some new ones that go with this game, which are slow, which lowers the amount of places a character can move on the grid. And then we have one that's knockback, which is when a character gets hit, they get knocked back a few squares away. And if you're a little strategic, you can place it where if you knock them back into another character, it will do bonus damage to the person that got knocked back. It makes the game very tactical, placing characters where they need to be. Like characters with low health normally have a range attack, so keeping them in the back and out of harm's way. And the fighters that are up close and personal in the group that need to be up close, they probably have a lot more health, so they're closer to the front. And these support characters can do more from the back of making sure that they're healed and that we give them defense so we don't lose our first line of defense there. We also could use our farts mid-battle this game as well, but they act a little bit differently here than they do in the Stick of Truth. So instead of having a mana bar that needs to be built up and taking an attack slot, these are a little different. They can be used in the middle of someone's turn. So the first power we get to have is the skip, and what this does is we just get to skip an opponent's turn, and it takes 3 full rotations to be used again. So basically you fart and the person that's going to attack doesn't get to attack anymore. It is really fucking busted. But then the next one is even more busted because this lets you stop time and move around and damage enemies for 6 seconds. And that one takes 4 full rotations to recover. Then we get a final one at the end of the game that lets us change between day and night. The farts in this game are such a super fucking busted ability, and it is so helpful. I use the farts so much more here than I ever did in the Stick of Truth. It's just an evolved version of the Stick of Truth, and I find it to be so much fun to play, but obviously, that's just me. With it being an evolved version of the Stick of Truth, obviously that means we get more of what we love and what worked in the first game. So we get more characters in this game than in the first game, and then we also get more references here than in the first game as well. They did something really cool with references in this game, with being super up to date with the show, like having references to the show weeks before the game came out. These were things like the member berries. Looking back, not the funniest thing in the world anymore, but it was still very cool to have them in the game, because they were in the show like only a month ago. With the characters we meet in the game, it's a lot of the same people. With the characters we meet in the game, it's a lot of the same people that we obviously met in the first one, but we get a few new ones. So we get Moses, we get Tally, we get Morgan Freeman, and Cthulhu. There are a lot of characters that aren't in this game that were in the Stick of Truth. The 2 big ones I'd say would be Terrence and Phillip and Chef. that doesn't mean that this game isn't funny or worse than the first one, because I think the humor for this game is definitely on par. I saw some people say that they didn't think this game was as funny as the first game, which is a little fair, but in my personal opinion, I think that this game might have been a little bit funnier than the first one. And the real important thing is this still really feels like a South Park episode, and which is the main important thing, because if it's not broken, why the fuck would you fix it? At the end of the day, South Park, The Fractured Butthole is really just an evolved version of South Park, The Stick of Truth. It really does almost everything better than the first game. It's so much more customizable. It really makes you feel like you're in the game more. It's longer, it has more things to do, there's more characters to interact with, and most importantly, they don't needlessly change anything that wasn't wrong with the first game. In my opinion, this is really the best sequel that they could have made for a South Park game. But guys, obviously this is all just my opinion. I really do hope you enjoyed the video, because I really did enjoy playing through South Park, The Fractured Butthole. This game was so much fun to play, and it really, really is honestly probably one of my top 20 favorite games ever. I'm not going to put it too high though. If you did enjoy the video, please guys make sure to go down and leave a like on it and comment what you thought about it. And of course, guys, subscribe, because if you don't, I swear to God, I'm going to send Cthulhu to your house. And once Cthulhu comes, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Please tell me, what are you going to do? So guys, go down, make sure to click it. It goes from red to gray, and you don't want to miss out on any future videos we have coming, because of course the next one will be a banger as well. But guys, I hope that you, yes, you right there, have a fan-fucking-tastic day. And of course, guys, like always, deuces.